Hi everyone, Michael Berge at Digiday, back here at the Digiday Studios at Possible 2026. And I am very happy to have Joanna O'Connell, who is our Chief Intelligence Officer of Omnicom Media North America.
That is right.
Joanna, it's wonderful to see you.
As always, a pleasure.
You've been to more than one Possible, right?
Have.
I'm curious to know, what messages are you looking to deliver here in your meetings, and what kind of signals are you looking to pick up here at Possible?
Sure. So, my obsession is with what is happening with consumers and with technology and what that means for brands. And there's the kind of today question, and then of course there's the tomorrow and then the next 2 years to 5 years question. So, of course, I'm always just interested in what people are talking about. But for me, what I'm interested in sharing is that, as I always do, there is a person on the other side of everything that we are doing. And the world that that person is experiencing is changing really dramatically, both sort of as it is coming over them, sort of change washing over them, and as they are embracing change. New technologies like generative AI are like a completely great example of that because it's so profound in how it's changing how consumers behave and then what that means for brands.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Uh, I'd love to ask you kind of a two-parter question about kind of economic indicators.
Sure.
From a marketer and brand spending point of view, there's a lot of uncertainty out there with economic indicators going north, south, all over the place. Yet marketing has stayed relatively steady. I've seen enough of these cycles to know that there have been times when marketers pull back.
Absolutely.
They're not doing that this time. Your thoughts on why that is the case and what you see coming?
It's very encouraging because it's the right thing to do, quite frankly, right? Like,
Okay.
I think the gut reaction, and I appreciate why business cycles being what they are and quarterly numbers being what they are, there is, an instinct to pull back that spend because
Right.
it's a savings kind of question. But the question really is, what does that mean for your brand? What does that mean for your business in the next quarter and the next quarter? And this goes back to my days at Forrester. Spending through that thing is what brands should do. And in this future brand influence piece, which we've talked about before, we looked at the fact that brand investment just overall was sort of down relative to performance investment.
Yeah.
And that is impacting how consumers perceive brands. So that feels like the wrong direction to go
Right.
if you want to sustain and build business growth. So,
Well, you just mentioned consumers. I'm going to ask you the same question from that consumer point of view. There is a kind of certainly strong signs of, weakness in consumer confidence. And yet they're still spending. There's this, panoply of media options available to them. You've done so much research on that in your time at Omnicom Media. What are you seeing on that side?
yeah, no, it's absolutely true. We've been sort of tracking consumer perceptions and intentions going to each year for several years now.
Right.
And that mixed with some research we did last year points to, I would say, a consumer base that feels worried. There's sort of a general non-tangible, intangible sense of economic anxiety that they're struggling with. And so they will tell you things like, I'm going to spend less, I'm going to buy the less expensive version, I'm going to hold off on luxury purchases. You see buy now, pay later is really making a comeback. They feel a sense of uncertainty about tomorrow, which also is just a general, again, intangible uncertainty about tomorrow, which is, at least as they report, impacting how they plan on spending. And that has like a very, very clear impact on brands, right? Who are on the other end of that
Right.
want and need that
They're
business.
paying close attention to this.
Absolutely.
And you're helping them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think there's something really important in there when it comes to how brands can respond. Spend through, absolutely. As we talked about, you need to have that consistency in kind of presence, but it's also what do you say, when you have consumers feeling this worry, feeling this anxiety, making tough decisions. So I think there's something really interesting in using first-party data from like a retailer, for example, to be able to pick a moment when someone is in market for something, or maybe before that they're researching, and be useful, like show up in a way that's useful or helpful or handy or empathetic,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Relate to them.
Yes.
Or make it easier for them or help them save money.
Absolutely.
Okay. Interesting. AI is certainly a massive thematic.
I haven't heard of
element
it.
here.
What is it? What does that stand for?
So it stands for artificial. No.
Got it.
So I'm curious what you see in terms of AI's impact on consumers, not impact, but how they're using it, how it changes what they do.
Sure.
And then again, that halo effect on how brands then approach them.
So there are a couple big things to talk about.
Yeah.
The first, which is very real and very today, is generative AI.
Yep.
Right? Since November 2022, ChatGPT sort of launched the first sort of public-facing version. The world has flipped upside down.
Incredibly fast.
I mean, the adoption of this thing dwarfs adoption curves for so many other technologies.
Yeah.
And people are not just using it, they're using it every day.
Right.
And it's changing fundamentally some of their behaviors around how they access information, how they make decisions. So it's not like a traditional search engine where you are provided information. It is a conversational assistant.
Yeah.
It is an advisor. It is a sounding board. It is an influencer. Like, that's how I think about generative AI now.
An influencer. Wow. Okay.
It's a new source of influence.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really powerful one because, again, it's not just providing information. It's responsive. It's conversational.
Yes.
You say, that's fine, but what about this other thing? And they're like, wow, great. It's like, great point. Let me give you some other things to think about. That's a completely different kind of relationship with technology than, you would see in traditional search. So what does that mean for brands?
Yeah.
It means that brands are sort of sitting on the other side of that as these LLMs are sort of making these decisions as they're surfacing information. So it becomes incredibly important for brands to be building against eligibility.
Yeah.
Right? That's essentially what we're talking about.
They have to keep up their end of the conversation.
They absolutely do, because it's like more than a third of people will say they use these LLMs, the sort of front end of them, the GPTs and Geminis,
Yeah.
to actually make a decision. Not just for inspiration, not just for discovery, clearly for research,
Right.
but to decide. I have decided I want this thing because I've had this conversation with this platform. That's unbelievably powerful. So that's Gen AI. Over here, you have agentic AI. And I'm going to grossly oversimplify, but I sort of think...
okay.
Right, just because I think this is important. You got Gen AI sort of generating. It's generating text, it's generating images, right? Voice. Agentic is sort of that plus action. It's taking an action.
It's doing things for you.
That's right. And that's a huge leap from I'm having a conversation with this thing to I have a tool that's essentially going and autonomously making decisions for me. This is very quickly becoming, I don't want to say mature, but very, very heavily adopted and used by consumers. This, from a consumer standpoint, still very, very new, but definitely coming. So I'm very interested in understanding, as agentic capabilities become more B2C, essentially, what that looks like.
Well, Joanna, thank you so much for the great explanations.
My great pleasure.
For sharing your time with us. Joanna O'Connell with Omnicom Media.